Wow, wow, wow. I just love these. Probably the composers of the song wrote that for another person, but when we sing it that way, we recognize that it's Spirit that's lifting us higher. It's beautiful. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here with us today. Wow. This is the kind of day where you got to get here earlier. You're actually going to have to sit in the front row. I don't know. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a beautiful day it is. When we gathered today as a staff of people that are the volunteers, the production people, the music, and myself and practitioners, we just recognized that there was already an energy of celebration in here, an energy of creation that's in here from yesterday's event. So I just want to acknowledge everybody that was part of it, either before, during, or after, or preparation beforehand. Some people weren't able to make it on Saturday, so I just want to acknowledge you. If you would stand up, and let's give you a round of applause for anything helped with a sip and savor in any way. Please stand up. And if you're online, stand up too, so we'll give you a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a wonderful event. It was a fundraiser. I mean, we're clear about that. We were transparent about that. But we also wanted to create an event that was congruent with who we were, not just for fundraising. Hey, Phil, could you turn on the air a little bit? It's a little warm in here. It was fine for a while, but suddenly with all these people in here and the dancing and that we wanted to create an event that was congruent with our vision and mission, because we raise money so we can have our vision and mission, so we can co-create it. But in fact, the event itself was our vision and mission. We were celebrating oneness with all of life, embracing the interconnectedness we have, as today I'll talk about the divine spark, and celebrating diversity, honoring those people that are creating diversity, and hearing about the programs they're continuing to do to create more diversity, more embracing. These are the people here. Our former mayor, Jill Teckel, Maria Cineros, the principal of Valley Oak High School, who it's an alternative school for kids that don't succeed in traditional school. And she's done so much civic activities too. I didn't realize the breadth of what she does. Charlie Toledo, the executive of the Soskel Intertribal Council, who continues to be an advocate for First People rights and the stories that have been suppressed or lost. And she brings it back. J.T. Thompson, not only his work with Black History Month here in Napa Valley, but the work he continues to do as a resource person with the Department of Health and Human Resources that is going out with mental health visits that normally the police would go on. And we know that sometimes a uniform can get people to react more. So he's going sometimes in partnership with the Sheriff's Department, sometimes by himself, to be able to de-escalate a situation and get people the help they need. So doing some amazing work. And Brad Wagon Connect, of course, an advocate for mental health, current County Board of Supervisors. So it's great to have all those people honored at yesterday's event. And that was part of our vision and mission, to create partnerships here in the Valley to create a beloved community here and in the Valley and beyond. Think globally, act locally, right? So let's just give ourselves another round of applause. So, and I'll be able to tell you we're still sorting out the funds and everything and trying to figure, but we'll have a balance for that next week. But we did well. We had a good ticket sales and the auction was robust. So it was everything we wanted to on that way. So we'll continue to do that. Future events coming up, but we don't rest on our laurels at this place. Yes, it was good. And I want to, okay, did you have fun here, this first song? Okay, October 3rd, they're coming back for our Sunday service and a concert right afterwards. So mark your calendars for that. We're going to have some more dancing. Praise dancers. So I got to get that word out. Praise dancer. We don't want paid dancers necessarily. So praise dancers and have some fun. We've been, it's hard to find these in-person events sometimes and the comfort level. So at your level of comfort, we appreciate indoors. We're still wearing masks, obviously. But, maybe we'll be able to go outdoors. We'll find something. We'll find a way to be able to celebrate that. So we'll talk more about that. But mark your calendars no matter what. And then we have postponed the start of the Inner Journey, the Practitioner 1 class, just for 2 weeks. So we're starting it on October 5th. So you still have time to register for that. There's a lot of flexibility in the number of classes you have, particularly if you're not sure if you want to go onto the Practitioner track. You just want to take it for the Inner Journey class, you're welcome to take it. And if you do want Practitioner later, then we'll catch you up on classes later on. It doesn't have to be before you start that. So that's and you can get those forms online under classes and education we do. Then October 23rd is also something, I'll have you mark that in your date. We are 50 years old as a community. And we're celebrating our 50th anniversary on October 23rd. And we're going to have a dinner, probably outdoors. We're going to start early that day at 4 p.m. is what we're tentatively talking about. We're still in planning stages of it, just so we can have daylight and it doesn't drop that temperature that can happen so much in the evening and once it reaches fall. So probably going to be outdoors. We're going to start early. We have Karen Drucker coming as our musician, so she's fun to have. And she wanted to be a part of it because she was one of the original music directors we had. So now she's a music director over at Golden Gate in Marin County. But she's been all over the world with her music, so we're excited to have her here. She really wanted to be a part of our historical event. So we're excited about that, and we'll provide dinner for you. You just come and show up. So it's also called our appreciation dinner, to appreciate you for your support of time, talent, and treasure. So just come and be a part of that event October 23rd. So we also have a number of ongoing events that we have. We have Wednesday meditation. We have one in English and one in Spanish. We have Course in Miracles group that meets on a regular basis. And then also we've had evolution of something of a recovery group that's based on Buddhist principles. And they've been meeting on Sunday evening at, I can't remember the time right now, 7. And then they're also going to start a study group that starts at 5:30. So the information is out in the lobby on that, but it's based on a certain book that started this Buddhist recovery movement. And it's real exciting because it takes the 12 steps. It doesn't discount them in any way, but it takes them into a more spiritual way based on the middle way, based on the 8 noble truths and 4 noble truths and the 8 paths. So it's exciting that we're going to that. So those are all things that we have coming up. So thanks for being a part of it in every way. We do like to start our service with saying our vision and mission statement. So if you'll look up on the screen and read with me. We are an inclusive community for spiritual growth and compassionate action. And our mission statement. We are co-creating a world that works for everyone by living intentionally, loving unconditionally, and seeing God in all people and all faiths. And so it is. So if this is your first time with us, either in person or online, we welcome you, and there will be a special acknowledgement of you later in the service. But in the meantime, let's have a little more music as we step into this time of sacredness.
The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. The God Namaste. All is beautiful. All is well. All is beautiful. All is well. The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. All is beautiful. All is well. All is beautiful. All is well. The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. The God in me beholds the God in you. Namaste. All is beautiful. All is well. All is beautiful. All is well. All is beautiful. All is well. All is beautiful. All is well.
Welcome. Good morning. Let's just take a few minutes to relax into the knowing that all is beautiful and all is well. And so if you're comfortable, just close your eyes and allow yourself to just be steeped in the knowingness that God is everywhere, all around. So I know that for this community, that our lives light up the world, that we as individuals and collectively bring forward that Godness of all there is, manifesting in our lives and everyone's lives around us. And so hold that thought for yourself as you allow yourself to be integrated with this service, allowing the words to fill you and to lift you and to move you beyond. And let's take a few minutes in just quiet silence to know that is true. And so I come before you today with a quote from Llewellyn Vaughan Lee. We have in us a divine spark that you can see. It's a light that shines in the human being. It's our direct access to truth, our direct access to God. The purpose of all spiritual practices that exist are to awaken that spark, to give it life, to give it energy, so that it can transform you. And with that in mind, it's imperative to know what sparks that light in you, so that you in your own way can illuminate the world for yourself and those around you. You are a beloved of the universe. You are as beautiful as the sunrise and as ancient as the stars. You are a spark of divine love in human form. Through you, goodness and light flow into this world. Bless you. In times of darkness, I remind myself that I am a divine spark by letting go of all thinking and recognizing only that which makes me happy or which I love. And so it is.
That was beautiful. Would you like us to play? Okay. We like what you're talking about today, the spark. So we got a spark going on. That's a really good thing. Okay. Sorry. Looking out the window, thinking of you. You are here with me. It's the way we are, indivisible. Love's a mystery. There are things a friend can give you. Fills a place in your heart. Keep my heart wide open and take you in. You give a sparkle to my soul. Love so strong, eternal. It's a powerful thing. When I feel you in my heart, I get this sparkly thing again. When we see the planets grow, we know we're in a place divine. You give a sparkle to my soul. You give a sparkle to my soul. Yeah, gentle spaces all around. I linger in your breath. I follow sparkles all around. Let my soul be fed. It's the way we hang together, shining like the stars. Even in this funky weather, we sparkle together. Yeah, you give a sparkle to my soul. Yeah. Strong, eternal, it's a powerful thing. When I feel you in my heart, I get this sparkling thing again. When we see the planets glow, we know we're in a space divine. We're in the flow. You give a sparkle to my soul. You give a sparkle to my soul. You give a sparkle to my soul. Yeah, my soul. Ooh, my soul. Yeah, you're doing it. Yeah,
Keep on
you're doing
doing
it. Keep on living it.
I love it. There's another song that was probably written to somebody else, but we can sing it to Spirit. You know, that Spirit gives us that sparkle, that divine spark. So you wrote it. So when you wrote it, what was your intention then? God.
You give a sparkle to my soul.
All right.
Well, sometimes we praise each other and embody each other's spirit, so we can write to each other.
Absolutely.
Spirit, yeah.
Oh. So I don't know if you heard that because he wasn't microphone, but sometimes they write to each other in the love they have for each other. But of course, we know there's only one love. So, yeah, thank you. Let's give them another round of applause. So if you haven't figured out, if you haven't been listening, the title of my talk today is Where's the Spark? And it's a kind of a fun thing to talk about because the tribes from around the world of the first people have been talking about this idea of the sparkle that is within, the God that's within, since they've been telling stories about it. Before written language, they were talking about this spark. And so it was that these stories continued and influenced civilization on all the continents. Well, maybe not Antarctica, but, you know, most of the continents. How about 6 of the continents? And informed this civilization and led to, like, the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Nordics and many of the Asian cultures, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Southeastern cultures, the African cultures. Of course, the first people here in these in North America and South America, that this idea of the divine within that happened. It's an interesting story in terms of our faith, because as religions began to get organized, faith bodies, they carried with them this idea of the God is within. But as religion became more organized, that was kind of suppressed. An example is the Gnostics, that were really not one central church as such, but it developed from many different philosophies, but particularly came into form with the Greek philosophers and continued into the Roman culture from the influence from the Greeks. And Gnosticism simply means inner knowing, or knowing a knowledge that you find. And they believed in this inner God, this inner realization. They didn't talk about sin or repentance as much as talking about the illusion and enlightenment. And they believed that spirit or God was this inner spark within us, this divine spark within us that was revealed when we removed the illusions of life that we might have. The things that might obscure this light or our forgettingness and our busyness of life. And so the Gnostics really taught this at around the time of Jesus. And yet, as the early Christian churches they met in the catacombs because they were hiding from Roman persecution, many of these ideas persisted. But when it became part of the government in the 4th century or 5th century, I guess it was, when there was an official government church, which now we know is the Catholic Church, but then there was only one church, then their ideas of that you couldn't find the divine within you by yourself. You had to go to a church, you had to go to a priest, you had to go to somebody else to find that divine, became because they wanted, I hate to say this, but control of people. And within the Catholic Church, I'll give them credit, there are many progressive movements that believe in the divine within. So it's not a universal thing. But there is this, what happened was this suppression, and even called them heretics, the Gnostics and other people, about the God within, and that whole was suppressed and didn't come back into revealing itself and allowing it to be safe until the 19th century, and especially once the library of the Nag Hammadi scriptures were found, like the Book of Thomas and other ones, were written by Gnostics in communities that Jesus is thought to have lived in, like the Essenes, and they were written and stored in those caves that were around some of these communities, was some validity found to that this was an alive philosophy, a live belief system of people in the 1st and 2nd century, and was suppressed some. And we don't need to worry about that as much as right now what we know is that this is what we believe here also. And so this philosophy has come forth that the divine spark is within us and always opening up to us in this way. And when we wonder, where's the spark? It's us that are not turning to it. But I will admit, there are times in my life when I've had trouble finding that spark. That I have, particularly early in my life, in my 20s and 30s, I was looking outside of myself for where that spark was in a relationship, in a certain spiritual teacher, or in a career of some kind outside of myself. And it took me a while to find that the inner spark was always within me. But I will acknowledge that path I was on because I'm not sure I would have found that inner spark without the journey. It's easy to say, well, it's always within you. Well, yeah, but if you can't discover that, if you're not opening, if your heart is not open to find it, then it's not there. I think of it as like a lighter or a stove we might have that it might even have a spark that you can see, but the source is not there. The divine source to fuel it that is necessary. Well, this is supposed to go on cue, right? Life doesn't work on cue either, does it? Okay, push this in. There we go. Sometimes it takes a while, right? We have to find the source within us. And sometimes that's hard to find. Sometimes we need to find a friend, to phone a friend, so to speak, to help reflect that back to us, to remind us that spark is within us. Sometimes we need to see the spark in somebody else. I want to remind you that when you admire somebody's courage or their inner beauty or their spirituality, their consciousness, that for you to see that, it's got to be within you also. You couldn't see that if you weren't there also. So whenever you acknowledge somebody, let that mirror back to you and know that that's in you also. That you have that same divine spark within you. And to tell you the truth, I don't think I'm any different, but I'm almost always willing to see somebody else's spark before my own. To acknowledge their beauty, their consciousness, their awareness, their compassion before my own. And to allow my own compassion to recognize the power and presence I am, the power and presence each of you are, is of value to treat each other with this life. Now, the story of the divine spark, like I said, has been in the oral tradition from the beginning of us. And that oral tradition influenced many first people told stories, creation stories, about the beginning of life. And universally, all of them have something about the breath of life or a spark of life or some sort of giving that a greater being gave to humans to give them life. The creation story we're most familiar with is the one in Genesis in the Old Testament. And I always look at that. It's fascinating because when I read it, word for word, what it says in the Bible is so different than the story I remember when I was a kid. Because there were a lot of things made up or put in between. But the story itself is very interesting. First of all, scholars believe that it is a combination of two different stories put into one. And if you read it, you can tell that. And also the original text that before it was translated into English had two different names for God. So the first one was Elohim. And Elohim was the one that created according to the story, created all of life in 6 days. and then on the seventh day rested. And that particular Elohim was known as a masculine. And I would always, when I think about that, it's just like a guy to think that after 6 days all the work's done and they're resting, right? When human race is just beginning and the work has just started. But then it switches to the name Yahweh. And Yahweh is a plural name. Yahweh is what Jesus talked about when he talked about Abwan. Abwan was, it's now translated to be my father. But it was really my father, mother, creator that was a masculine, feminine. This was this Yahweh that was part of the Jewish heritage. And Yahweh was the one, we thought all the work was done, but suddenly Yahweh is creating Adam, and Eve and all this and telling them not to eat of a certain fruit. So it's a different name for a God. So these two stories, the work was supposed to have all been done, but now suddenly, I'm going back and creating humans now. So it's kind of a contrary, but this is the part of the story that I really love, because here's Yahweh, the plural masculine, feminine, creating Adam and breathing into his nostrils the breath of life. That's a beautiful metaphor. Breathing, and I believe the Spirit's still breathing life into our nostrils, the very air we breathe, the very life that we live. And the story goes on, Eve comes, and there's a whole story about the rib, which I just kind of go, really? But anyway, so there's Adam and Eve, and they're not supposed to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But a Gnostic would say, if a Gnostic was around there, go, eat the fruit. Come on, it's knowledge, it's wisdom. They said, you'll be like them, be like the gods, be like the plural of Yahweh if you eat of it. And what happened in the story, it later became a story about not us not obeying God, but really it was about our willingness to step into the knowledge and be human. They're talking about that we will feel pain. Well, that means we're going to be human. We're going to be incarnated as human and have this juxtaposition, this seeming appearance of opposites in our life of good and evil that we're always struggling with. We're always challenged with that good and bad, dark and light, and what, why people do certain things, why people do evil. And but we are like gods because we can also step back and see the greater good, the greater life that is there. And interesting, so the story goes on to take another strange turn in my mind, is that Adam and Eve had two sons, Cain and Abel. And Abel presented, he was a farmer, and he presented his harvest, a part of his harvest as a sacrifice to God, and God liked that, favored that. But Cain he was a shepherd, and brought part of his sacrifice of the animals he raised to God, and God did not find favor in it. Like, what are you talking about? What was wrong with his sacrifice that he wouldn't find favor in it? And so Cain got mad and killed his brother. And so now there's only one son, and here's the weird thing about it. So God got mad at Cain, and Adam and Eve got mad, so they kicked him out of, they were already supposed to be out of the garden, so I don't know what they were in, but supposedly east of Eden he went, where the land of Nod was, and there he found a wife. Where did that person come from? And there he had all these kids that brought on the heritage of all people everywhere. But I don't know. Suddenly somebody shows up, a community of people that wasn't there before, and a wife he found. And so I don't know. It does not make a lot of sense. And the worst part about this story is that what is pulled from the story are two things that are so harmful to us as a human race. The first one is that we had original sin by eating of that tree of knowledge. Instead, it's an original blessing, like Matthew Fox suggested, that we are blessed to be in this body and in this life, and the opportunity to express light and love as human beings, as a divine spark within us that is expressing life. And the second harmful myth that comes out of it is that God finds favor in some people and not in other people. That's malarkey. I got Meister Eckhart, I love what he says. Any talk of God that is not comforting is a lie. Any talk of God that's not comforting is a lie. So this is absolutely made up, but we can still pull metaphors from this Bible, from this story, and the main part of it I want us to think about today is the whole idea that Spirit breathes into our nostrils life that we can find. And we breathe in, and that oxygen is the fuel for this spark, to fuel it, to burn a passion within us. Now, I know you can all name times in your life when you felt this passion, when you felt this aliveness in your life. Things were going on in your life. Things were going well. And you could definitely say, well, yeah, I've got a divine spark in me. But there are other times it's not there because of a health challenge, maybe discomfort we have in our body, or relationship challenges, or addiction challenges, or you name it. Job challenges, housing challenges, whatever we have, it's hard to find that spark. You know, and if I said, well, you have a divine spark in you, you'd go, yeah, whatever. And I know that. And I've experienced those times to myself. This is why we need a community. This is why you need a group of friends to remind you of this, or just to hold you in thought or physically until you recognize that in yourself, until you know that truth. I will tell you it's true, and be patient with yourself when you're not feeling it. It'll come back. It'll be there because it's always there for us, always. Now, I love the story of this idea of this divine spark that Rumi talks about too, my favorite poet. Of course, it seems like my favorite poet, I think I say that every week about some different poet. So my favorite poet is the one I'm reading, I think, at the time. But nevertheless, Rumi today was my favorite poet. He said, I've lived on the lips of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I've been knocking from the inside. I've been there. Knocking from the inside. It's always there on the lips of insanity. Because we're so desperate for some change, for some things, and so that we open up to life itself in this way, this divine spark. I was also thinking of a song. Now, this is going to date many of you. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about when I give this quote, just Google it, okay? Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. Their famous song, Woodstock. The words came back to me today. We are stardust. We are golden. We are billion-year-old carbon. And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. And it's a metaphor. I'm sure that was channeled. They probably didn't realize how profound it was until I was on paper, and they're going, whoa, you know. And but get back to the garden, meaning God's garden, God's preciousness that is not out there, not some far away place that we have fallen because of what Adam and Eve did, but the garden within us that is the sanctuary that we need to step back into the garden, back into our divine self and our divine being. And we know this graciousness, this divine spark is always right here with us. So we come to this movie that we've been talking about, Soul, and once again, I'm going to remind you, if you haven't seen it, find a way to see it. But the character Joe Gardner, he goes through this experience where he dies and then goes to the great after and a great beyond, and then is able to somehow get to the great before. And there he meets this soul 22, and 22 is waiting to get her badge, that is her spark, to allow her to go into carnate life. And she has had many mentors. Joe is the last of her many mentors, and they include people like Gandhi and Mother Teresa and Johnny Cash and different people. But what they've been doing is telling her what their spark was and how to get a spark, but she couldn't find it for herself. And what's funny is, so she meets Joe Gardner, and at first she's skeptical and cynical of him. but she was inspired because she saw a clip of his life, and she said, "Your life was so sad and pathetic." How'd you like somebody to say your life was so sad and pathetic? Your life was so sad and pathetic, and you still want to get back to this life. It's because he died, he thinks, prematurely, and he wants to get back to that life, and he's kind of using 22 to get back to his life. But here she sees a piece of his life, a scan of it, and she goes, "You know, your life wasn't that great, and you want to get back to it? I'm curious about this." And it's her curiosity. Her curiosity is what helps her find her spark. So through him, because I told you last week, if you don't remember, that they get incarnated, but something mixed up, and she ends up in his body, and he ends up in the body of a cat. And so this kind of humorous thing. Tina Fey is 22, and she's just really funny when she does this. But the whole thing is through that he's able to see his life. And he has his barber, Des, she listens to him, and he finds things about him that he didn't even know because he had never listened to him before. He was so obsessed with his life. In the movie, there's a line that when joy becomes an obsession, it separates you from life, that you become distant from it. So joy is a wonderful thing, except when it becomes an obsession. So jazz music had been his obsession. And so he found through the eyes of this cat not only his barber, but his relationship with his mom, with a young girl named Connie, who was one of his students, who had kind of given up on life. And through a conversation, a simple conversation of just somebody listening to her, she rediscovered her love for music. And conversations with the barber and with the mom and with different people, with a street musician, and all these little reminders that were found about it, he discovers the spark in his life. But not the way he thought. He thought once he became this jazz musician that he would be, passionate. But even when he got back into his own body, and he played with Dorothea Williams, which was his dream from the beginning. He had this opportunity to it. He played with her, and then afterwards he felt not as happy as he thought he would be. And Dorothea, through the wisdom that she was this decade-long famous jazz musician. She told this story, which was great. She called him Teacher, and she said, "Teach, there was two fish one time, and one fish wanted to be in the ocean, wanted to experience the ocean fully, and the other fish said, 'You're in the ocean.' And the first fish goes, 'The ocean? I'm just in water.'" So sometimes we're in life and we don't even realize it because we're too focused on something outside of ourselves and opening up. Another great story from the Buddhist tradition is two monks were walking, and they had both taken vows of abstinence, not even to touch a woman. They were male monks, and not even to touch a woman because of they didn't want to be tempted. So they came to a river crossing that was deep and rapid, and a woman stood there with her child, not able to cross. And the older Buddhist offered to pick her up, which he did, picked her up and carried her across the river and set her on the other side of the river. And she thanked him profusely and appreciated, and they went their ways. And the two monks kept walking, and the second monk said, I don't understand. We spent our whole life in this agreement that we've had, this promise we've had to God not to touch women, and here you just break your vows immediately. And the older monk said, "Yes, and I set her down on the other side of the bank, but you're still carrying her." So often we have burdens that we are still carrying that we need to let down, and often it's a judgment we have of somebody, or an old wound we might have, something that we hold about ourselves as being less than, unworthy, or that we're a certain kind of person and we can never be that. When we're able to let that burden down and just be that lightness of being that we can. Jesus talked about if a city on the hill needs to shine, it doesn't go under a bushel so you can't see it shine. We are meant to shine. We are meant to be this magnificence, this idea. So when Joe began to reflect on his life, and he had 22 had gone on to a different place, he found little things that she had left there, little things she had picked up. Included a ticket from the subway, a spool of blue thread when Joe's mom mended the pants he was wearing, but it was really healing between them about an authentic conversation they had. About a piece of bagel she had thrown into a street musician while they were playing because she could hear his passion. A seed that came down from a tree, like a maple tree, you know, those are just the helicopters one, that was just a moment of awe that she saw. So when we are not sure where our spark is, or we want to increase that amount of light in us, just take some time to be in awe and gratitude. It opens us up and allows to be this divine light. A reminder of it, to let it shine like a city on a hill. We don't want to put it under a bushel. We want to be present with what is. And the world needs our light right now. The world needs us to shine. And we also want to acknowledge the light of other people as well. So we do that, and we are this presence of this divine light right where we are. Let's go to prayer. So we know the truth within us is this light, and is always this light. So we just tune into this spirit that is all there is, that is this light that is all around us, the blessings of all that is. And we allow this voice, this energy, this power to come through us. And we allow it to shine brightly, present in who we are right here and right now. And we know this to be our truth, and we know that all those who have put in a prayer request or are seeking prayer within their own consciousness right now, that the light shines through this. Your request is heard, and the universe is acting upon it in this moment. And we know to be this truth in all ways. And we declare it to be so, and so it is. All right. How about a little more music?
Thank you for being you, Jay. Jeez. This song is by Taj Mahal and Keb Mo. And you know, Keb Mo was at Obama's inauguration. Good for my words. Yeah, and so this is just, they're all about spreading love all over the planet. So here's your part. Okay, here we go. Love, how does it go? What's their part? All around the world. That's your part. Okay. Yeah. So you'll feel good singing that. Yeah.
What's all the fuss about? Why can't people just get along? Maybe we ought to talk about all the good we got going on. Everybody knows there's a better way, and we're all hoping and praying that one day we'll be love all around the world. All around the world. There'll be peace and understanding. All around the world. There'll be joy all around the world. All around the world. There'll be happy children singing all around the world. Can't you just It's a powerful spirit up in the air. Won't be no reason to sing the blues. Won't be nothing on the radio but some good news. There'll be love all around the world. All around the world. There'll be peace and understanding. All around the world. There'll be joy all around the world. All around the world. There'll be happy children singing all around the world. There'll be joy all around the world. We know we gotta bring about a positive change. I can't help thinking about how everything's getting so strange. How do we get away from the misery and pain and still feel the sunshine in the pouring rain? There'll be love all around the world. There'll be peace and understanding all around the world. There'll be joy all around the world. All around the world. There'll be happy children singing all around the world. There'll be love all around the world. All around the world. There'll be peace and understanding all around the world. There'll be joy all around the world. All around the world. There'll be happy children singing all around the world. All around the world. All around the world. All around the world. All around the world.
Thank you. What a treat to have you guys here today. How fun. I'm looking forward to October 3rd. Yeah, so. All right.
Get Shauna to perform too.
All right. Great. All right. Good. That'll be fun. So this time in our service, when we have the opportunity for you to participate in the law of circulation, we appreciate all that you give of your time and talents as well. And we also appreciate your financial contributions. You'll see baskets in the front and the back. So if this is the time while a gratitude song is sang, for you to come up and to participate in this law of circulation, knowing that it comes back to you tenfold. And we appreciate your support of our vision and mission. We also know that some of you are giving online or through checks. There's a number of ways to do that. If you so want to do that, we so appreciate all that you're doing. So this is a time just to listen to the song and reflect on that which is your divine light, and reflect if you're going to be giving to us today. So thank you very much. So any kind of what? No, okay. Gratitude.
Yes. Excuse me. I feel like Victor, what's his name? Borga. Okay, yeah. I just want to thank you for all you bring to me. I just want to thank you. Your love has set me free, yeah. I just want to thank you for all you bring to me. I just want to thank you. Your love has set me free. I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
To me, sweet God,
I just wanna thank
yes,
you.
I do.
Thank you.
Your love has set me free.
Thank you so much. We want to acknowledge you if this is the first time you've been with us or not. I think there are some of you who come back every time that they play, so we appreciate you coming back. That's okay. We always welcome you when they are here. We have some other people who do that, so that's great. But if this happens to be your first time with us in person, could you be willing to raise your hand? We have a gift for you. Yeah, I thought back here in the corner also.
Cool.
And back in the very corner back there. There you go. So we have a special blessing for you today, and also any of you who might have joined us first time online, we have a blessing for you. So we just raise our hands and we say, we bless you today, knowing that the peace and happiness you seek is also seeking you. We honor your inner radiance as you let your light shine in the world. We are grateful for your presence in our community. We also like to bless our children wherever they may be. We are going to start our children's program again. We're still waiting for a couple things with health protocols and things like that. But we bless you right where you are. So we raise our hands and bless them. We say, we love you, we care about you, and we're here for you. And finally, our community affirmation. Repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
I am led by Spirit.
I'm led by Spirit.
I am guided by wisdom.
I'm guided by wisdom.
I am protected by love.
I am protected by love.
I am here to be a blessing.
I am here to be a blessing.
I am so grateful.
I'm so grateful.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Now,
Okay. You're going to recognize this that we're using for our closer here. This might crack you up.
Touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. Yes, you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place.
Yes, we can.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place.
Yes, we can.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. Better place. Reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. And touch somebody's hand,
Make this world a better place. Yes, we can.
reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place.
I love you, Phil.
Yes, we can.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand,
Make this
and
world
a better place.
Yes, we can.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. Yes, yes, reach out.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Somebody's hand, make this world a better place.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
go forth. As we go forth, let us be the light. And yes, we can. So have a great week.